An excerpt from Loredlon, written and read by Freya Pickard. Nenya thrust his wings down sharply, propelling his body into the warm air above the mountain pass. He felt the sudden lift of the thermal beneath him and stretched his pinions, revelling in the heat of the sun upon his back. He corrected his angle of flight, taking into account the weight held in his front claws. Rotating his head, he checked the sky to either side and above was clear of other Shara-Shidenru, and allowed the wind to sweep him towards his valley. He lifted above another range of grey-beige rock with pink and purple striations and met a crosswind. With powerful downstrokes he eased himself higher and rediscovered the thermal that allowed him to once more glide with ease. He swept the horizon from left to right, checking again the heavens were still clear. Several eagles and one buzzard flapped away at his approach. No bird of prey would linger where the Shara-Shidenru flew. Nenya allowed his talent to bubble and coruscate, keeping him airborne, enabling him to breathe and think. He flared the far joint of his right wing as an errant eddy of air passed close to the spiralling thermal. He flicked his long, scaled tail out straight behind him and regained his path on the warm wind. High enough now to see the ranges of the north in their tumbled glory, Nenya let the thermal carry him higher, his faceted eyes peering down. Even from this height, he could see goats and deer, cottontails and doves. With feathers and fur the colour of the rocks they haunted, his prey appeared to merge with the stone when they sensed his presence. But Nenya could always see them, his power augmenting his vision. Old, dry watercourses cut through the taupe landscape until he passed over a familiar range with one flowing river falling from a peak to surge through a gully that twisted and turned as though it were a fractious serpent. From the ravine it fell into his valley, an oasis of greenery and growth in the barren landscape. Nenya propelled himself from the thermal with one powerful thrust of his wings, turning to fly towards the noonday sun. Light glittered off the nearly transparent leathery skin stretched between tendon, bone and muscle, steel blue flickering with pearl and silver. One more swoosh of his wings, and he found another thermal that carried him east for a few minutes. Lowering his long head, he threw himself from the second thermal and pulled his wings close to his body. Air screamed past his ears, clutching at his scales. The uneven wrinkles of the land beneath him widened into shadowed ravines and sun-baked escarpments. Back-winging, he pulled up still a mile or so above the ridge that sheltered his valley. Easing himself into a slow, repeated circle, he turned one multifaceted eye down. The valley appeared tranquil in the noonday heat. Water fell in a curtain of white mist before carving its course through the middle of the vale. Pale trees clustered either side of the clear river, slender branches waving in a summer breeze. Grass and herbs released pungent scents that he could smell even this far above them. No other sign of life showed in the valley. Nenya pressed out with his thoughts, sensing the two humans asleep in his cave. Shara-Shidenru did not smile. They did not have the ability to move their mouths in such a fashion, and neither were they subject to human emotion. But the sensation Nenya now experienced was the closest he could come to smiling. It was a satisfied, smug feeling that he'd disobeyed the first precept that was impressed upon his kind as soon as they'd broken free of their shells.